We're here in the Zona del Silencio. It's Agent Ryan.
This is Agent Mora.
Hello, Agent Mora. It is good to be back in the Zona, yes?
Good to see you, yes. Handshakes all around. This is, I'm glad to have something to talk about because it's been really quiet out here.
Yes, it has. And we need something to talk about here. And as is the way of the Zona, we seem to have shifted to a more desolate area this time. This is a lot different from last time. There's no buildings, roads, none of that airstrip. All I see is cactus. Oh, is that agave?
Yeah, that's agave. People think it's aloe. It's not.
Every time, I think the only time I've ever seen agave is on restaurant signs. I don't think I've ever, maybe.
Well, here it is. Just don't, it's very sharp. So be careful.
They make tequila with this, right?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
All right.
They distill
Let's remember that out here. So as far as, there's a very big mountain behind us. Got a lot of shade at the moment. In front of us is just flat nothing. It is beautiful. But we're not just here to mess around the desert. They bring us here for a reason, Mora, and it's this week's case. But before that, I have some notes from our boss, Issa,
yes.
Our media AD, Issa. This is concerning last week's case, the Lechuza. And I feel like, Mora, I always read yours first. So I think I'm going to read mine first this time. Is that okay?
Okay, especially if it's bad news. Yeah, get rid of that first. I hope I don't have any bad notes, but you do it.
All right, here we go. For Agent Ryan, congratulations on completing the mandatory safety seminar, the Zona del Silencio. Your blaster will be returned to you upon completion of 2 hours of targeting practice on the weapon range, which will be supervised by a sharpshooter.
Nice.
In the meantime, your whip will be returned to you for a probationary period. Okay.
Oh, look at you. Good. You completed the seminars.
Are you teaching this? Is this a sharpshooter thing?
I mean, if they have signed me up for that, they haven't told me, but I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm not the best marksman, but I'm pretty good.
Well, just come with me because I don't I don't know the people there. I've never been there.
I don't know them either, but so yeah, I totally will be there for moral support because I don't know how they're going to be.
I got something now. I got the whip back, and I have another one here for Agent Ryan. Your proposal to find a test subject willing to engage in negotiations with the Dark Lord in order to obtain unnatural powers was well received by ZDS leadership. It says they will provide whatever resources you may require with one stipulation. The subject must be recruited or obtained by you, Agent Ryan. For legal reasons, ZDS cannot actively recruit for occult experimentation. Okay, that's okay. They liked my idea.
I'm glad. I can help you make flyers or something if you want. Like if you need help designing something to attract people to your cult, or you're looking for people who are easily impressionable, right? Not necessarily people who are into cults.
I don't either. Someone with nothing to lose or someone really into the devil and they want to be. Come on, there's got to be some girls out there who wouldn't mind just being able to turn into an owl woman with no legs occasionally.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm honestly, especially in the times that we're in, I think that we will have some takers.
I think I can find somebody. It's not going to be that hard. And now for your turn for Agent Mora. Agent Mora, you were correct in your assertion that the Lechuza can be cursed at in any language, not just Spanish. Their understanding of vocal intent is quite acute. All right, that's a relief.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that would suck, if you don't know any Spanish and then you're just completely helpless against them. It's good that you can invoke your own powers, so to speak.
I still want to get better at the Spanish ones, though. It sounds a lot more authentic for yelling at Lechuzas. If I could say the Spanish ones, I'm working on them. So.
Yeah. As long as you know what they mean and you know what you're saying and you're yelling at it, at her, at it, I think, it'll work.
I'm saving them for her.
Accept it. Yeah.
I'm not going to say them now. I could show you how great I am at saying them now, but I have to say that for her. And we got one more here for Agent Mora. For proper protocol in dealing with the deformed humanoids in accordance with Treaty 303, your application for a guest pass has been approved.
Woo!
Your guest will be given the rank of research consultant and will be arriving in the Zona shortly.
Oh, my God. They could have given us more of a head up for this. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I saw that at the corner of my eye on one of the bulletin boards. I didn't tell you because I forgot to tell you.
What?
I was really distracted by the churros, like the gift certificate for the churros, which I did get to try one so far. I've spent like $2. They're smaller than I thought, but they're worth it.
You still got a lot left on that card. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, $20 worth.
No one told me, though, that we could do this thing. So, I don't know. I'll figure out. It probably sounds complicated. But, and look at that. Right on cue, I think the guests might be arriving. You see that?
What is that?
I think it's a hot air balloon arriving in the Zona.
They're sending blimps?
I think he's having trouble getting at land. I got this. Watch. Come here. Hold on. I got it.
You just got this thing back.
Oh, ow. What the hell?
It's Jack
It's
Sass.
Jack.
Jack, welcome to the Zona del Silencio.
Oh, yeah. It's
Jesus.
It's good to be here, I guess.
Are you okay?
I tried to get here the safest way possible, but
Unfortunately, there is no safe way to land here. We
No.
haven't had to land by hot air balloon, but goddamn, where did you even get that?
well, they gave it to me
Oh,
back there because that was the only way they could get me in here.
That's surprising because, Jack, yes, here in the Zona del Silencio, a lot of things are known to just crash into the ground, be they planes, meteors, UFOs, and now, of course, hot air balloons. This is the first thing to crash in the Zona since we've
This is
been
amazing.
here. I've been hearing about this happening so much. It's finally happened.
and it isn't even anything bad. It's something colorful, and it has Jack in it.
It's on fire now, but
Well, we can move over here.
Stomp it out. That
Yeah,
shit catches
okay,
really
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
There you go.
one of you guys is going to have to give me a ride back home.
We'll figure that out.
So thank you for being here, research consultant Jack. We'll worry about that later. But I've got one last thing. We were just doing some notes, Jack, about, but you don't need to worry about that. I have one, those are for our ears only, I guess. I have one last thing, and this is for all of us. This comes from Jamie, who advises to be on the lookout for a large unidentified winged creature seen recently in the Zona near the outskirts of humanoid and cat
great.
encampments. Proceed with caution. And look, I'm sure it's nothing. We got something is keeping the humanoids busy, so we can get some work done.
Proceed with caution and don't be concerned. I mean,
It's definitely nothing. I'm
It's
sure.
by the humanoid places.
Well, I mean, I'm glad it didn't affect Jack's hot air balloon. You know, I didn't know about this.
No, that was all
threat.
me. I'm terrible with hot air balloons.
Yeah,
I
but
can't-
what if the winged thing, went after you? I don't know. I
Well, I didn't see anything.
I'm
weird.
glad.
hot air balloons might not be your thing, but man, I gotta say, I always feel a lot more confident going places with you, Jack. I don't know. I feel like I can always get away with something stupid, that you'll save me somehow. So I'm excited for that. But before we get into this, Jack, did you bring any kind of weapon with you?
I got this. They gave me this taser thing, like a stun gun
Oh
little
no,
thing.
they should not have given you that.
I don't know what I hopefully I don't have to use it on anybody.
Jack, this
It
is the
works.
Zona del. I don't know why electronic things don't work in the. We try it again. Nope.
It
No.
sounds. Are you sure that's where it's?
No, I guess it isn't working. It looks like it is.
That looks fucking shady.
Charge it up.
It plugs into the wall.
Yeah,
Hold on.
let's find an outlet for him for that, and we'll have that charging while we.
All right.
we can test
we
it out
talk.
later. Maybe
We'll test it out later. But Agent Mora, research consultant Sass, you ready to get in today's case? Yes?
Yes, definitely ready for
It's
it.
okay. Here we are. So we will be discussing the mysterious and horrifying creatures known commonly as the Melon Heads. Melon Heads are humanoid-like creatures with very large heads and very sharp teeth who are best known for assaulting unsuspecting travelers who happen to encroach on their remote rural hideaways. This is an unusual cryptid and a very violent one.
This one scares me. I don't the sharp teeth, the fact that I've heard they can run, right? They can absolutely run after you. They're not like a slow thing. And then you don't know when you're encroaching on their territory.
And there's not a lot of clothes involved in a lot of the depictions I've seen of them. They tend to go shirtless or pantsless most of the time, which
That's
can
a
be even more
distraction.
frightening. Yes.
Yeah, even more frightening. And the police can't do anything about that. They can't charge them with indecent exposure because they probably wouldn't survive an encounter with them.
Much like the Lechuza from our last case, these Melon Heads have many different origin stories, depending on what region the story originates from. And Jack, you were from Michigan, is that correct?
That is true. That is where I originate from.
Yes, I could tell as soon as that balloon crashed. This is a Michigan man.
Yep.
So let's start there then, because the most well-known Melon Head story comes from Michigan. And as legend has it, the original Melon Heads were children who were affected with hydrocephalus. And hydrocephalus, that is a condition in which fluid accumulates in the brain, typically in young children, enlarging the head and sometimes causing brain damage. These children were housed near Felt Mansion in a facility called Junction Insane Asylum. And while there, these children were subjected to severe physical and mental abuse and degenerated to the point of being feral.
Yep.
You guys are in shock. Eventually,
Oh my God. Yes,
the
I'm in
Melon
shock.
Heads, eventually the Melon Heads attacked and killed the doctor who housed them. And in a panic to dispose of the body, the Melon Heads cut the doctor into pieces and hid them throughout Felt Mansion. And it is believed that they escaped into the woods where they lived in the shadows, emerging only to feed or attack on the unsuspecting. Is that an accurate summation of the Michigan Melon Head folklore, Sass?
That is a very accurate. Every region in the world has their boogeyman stories, and that's one of the ones that we kind of grew up with up there was the Melon Heads. And I've been down to the Felt Mansion area. The Felt Mansion's actually still there, but the building that they were supposedly created in, I guess, does not exist anymore.
Well, are they created in this legend? Because we'll get to stories of creation, but are these just children with hydrocephalus in this facility?
I've heard it both ways, actually, that the doctor was evil and was experimenting on them to create them like that. And the other version of where they were just children that needed a place to go because they couldn't be cared for at any other medical facility. I think the first one makes more sense because how are you going to collect that many children with such a rare condition in one place?
That's a good point.
In one area, too. Yeah. And so you mentioned Felt Mansion, though, and I've heard that there is no evidence that this asylum even existed, that there was a prison maybe on the grounds and there wasn't an asylum at all. Is that true?
Yeah, it was a minimum, very, very minimum security prison. It was more like a detention center, which was on the grounds of the Felt Mansion, which is now...
It's like a drunk tank almost. It's like a guy's personal...
Juvenile
Why is there a
hall.
mansion next to this little prison, too?
Like a juvenile hall, like Drea said. It was kind of more like that. And it sits on the grounds of what is now Saugatuck State Park. So
you can go wander around in there? Because it's state up.
Yeah, it's all... The whole area where the Melon Heads are is highly trafficked by people.
Oh, wait, maybe it wouldn't be fun. I forgot the Melon Heads are there. We were just talking about mansions.
Is that the place that you got to explore, Jack?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I went down there, and the prison building was actually still there at that point, and the Felt Mansion wasn't restored yet, so it was still in its abandoned glory, and it was nice. It was fun. We got to go out there in the middle of the night.
So did you go looking for pieces? Because So part of the lore is that the Melon Heads cut up this doctor and put him into pieces. But I've also heard in this that a lot of ghost hunters go there, and they've gotten signs from Melon Heads while there, and somehow they're identifying Melon Heads. That it's a ghost hunting hotspot.
Really?
Oh, so there's Melon Head ghosts.
Well, there's alien ghosts. If you believe in ghosts to begin with, you've got alien ghosts, you've got Melon Head ghosts, Bigfoot ghosts. It's
Pirate
probably
ghosts.
somewhere. That'd be.
I guess, yeah. Everything can make a ghost, I suppose.
That's a
Plant
really
ghosts.
hard Bigfoot to capture. Bigfoot's ghost. Bigfoot's hard enough to capture. So are ghosts.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I wouldn't be as surprised with a Melon Head ghost, seeing as whether we classify it as a cryptid or not. They either are humans or once were human.
This is your hometown boy, though, right, Jack? This is like your guy, right? Melon Heads.
We don't really have anything else cool out there.
Did it kind of become a thing? Because I know that these have been featured on a couple of like paranormal shows, and it's always interesting. I remember, as a kid, I heard about Rougarou and everything out here, but it didn't seem like it was like known like Bigfoot or anything. I'm thinking more recent years with especially 10, 15 years ago, the dawn of the golden age of paranormal television with all these great shows that'll cover every monster anywhere. So everything is kind of brought to the forefront. But you had to be proud when you saw Melon Heads on like Destination America, right?
Yeah, it was pretty neat being able to see things in places that I've been, and grew up in, and seen it on TV, because that town is not a very well-known town, even though it is pretty well-known, which is kind of weird. If that makes sense.
Well, probably more well known to the area, to the state area, because I hadn't heard of that whole area until we talked about it, and
yeah,
I got to see Felt Mansion as well, and it does look spooky from.
It is.
the main road.
They got it all restored now, and you can't go in there without invitation or on a tour. But they do ghost tours there in October, so if you ever really wanted to get in there, you can.
Are they doing Melon Head tours? Because that's
that
what
I don't know. I don't know.
We got to start that. All right.
That would actually probably be too scary for me. I'm going to be honest.
Now, Jack, I have here that you are also involved in writing a script for an early Melon Head film as a young man. Is that correct?
I was the sole writer of that script.
Do you still have it?
I might actually somewhere.
That would be incredible.
I don't know where, but I might have it still. It's definitely up here.
We could do an audiobook version of Jack's Melon Head his treating the early script. But yeah, I think someone might have ran with your idea because you were definitely you were writing a book or a movie about the West Michigan Melon Head. Well, in 2011, a movie titled The Melon Heads tells the story of those West Michigan Melon Heads. So that movie does exist. Have either of you seen the Melon Heads movie?
Mm-mm.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's the first
What
time
if
I'm
people
hearing
think
of
it's
it.
like a ripoff of Coneheads? You know, there's always those.
Oh, well, that's not right either.
Just
That's
rounded cone heads.
super incorrect. Yeah, rounded cone heads. Melon heads.
Well, so a lot of the main points of this are in the Michigan legend. But if you only hear this version of the legend, it almost seems incorrect to classify these things as cryptids. The way I found it is that it's just the known medical condition. It's hydrocephalus in this.
Except for some of the details that go into either the origin stories where it was this evil doctor that's just mutating a bunch of orphan children, but the fact that they all also have sharp teeth and everything, that has nothing to do with hydrocephalus. So that's
right.
what gives me question about it.
I don't know. Is that some kind of malnutrition thing, though? If you're living out in the woods, if you're becoming
No. If anything, your teeth would fall out with malnutrition. Sharpened teeth are either you are one of those people who wants to be a reptile and goes and has your teeth filed down by a dentist or somebody, or you're just not pure human. You're part something else.
They're just into that body modification culture. They're just like so deep in. They were early adapters of that. Well, that's the Michigan story. But let's talk about the Ohio variant of the Melon Heads, which is really similar to Michigan, but with some major variations. So here we go, Michigan. Beginning in the 1930s, the Ohio story tells of a scientist. Now, you mentioned they didn't really give the name for the doctor in the Michigan, but in Ohio, they have a scientist named Dr. Crow.
What
A name to begin with.
Yeah.
And there was some discrepancy on the spelling. Some spell it like you would think C-R-O-W, some K-R-O-H, K-R-O-W.
Oh, interesting.
We don't know. It's Crow, though.
Wow.
And this Dr. Crow, he volunteered to take in orphaned and what we would call now special needs children into his house. When in his possession, Dr. Crow would perform grotesque experiments on these children, including the injection of chemicals into their heads, which caused deformation. They became deformed and their heads got enlarged.
Man.
The chemicals on the brain, this led to the kids becoming insane and deformed. And then they were given the name the Melon Heads.
It's just so awful.
This is where it lines up. Ohio and Michigan stories line up. The Melon Heads, though, they eventually turn on Dr. Crow, much like the ones from Michigan. They attack him, they burn down his facility, and they escape into the woods to terrorize and cannibalize the people of Kirkland, Ohio. But these are different. These are not original hydrocephalus children. These were orphans taken in who were definitely experimented on, injected, almost given hydrocephalus by injecting chemicals and water into their brains to become deformed.
There's nothing I like about this story. I mean, obviously, there's nothing to like about it, but it's just like every turn is just more and more horrible.
Yeah, it's about to turn for the worse here because upon escaping, the Melon Heads sought shelter in a place known as Crybaby Bridge, where they built a small society, surviving on dead animals and staying kind of like a secret by killing and eating any humans that spotted them. And they carried on their Melon Head ways by inbreeding and becoming more insane and dangerous in future generations. And that is the really violent Melon Head. I don't know. I would call this version a cryptid. I think a lot of humanity is stripped away when you got chemicals and inbreeding and all this thing. It's too far from human.
That's true. It becomes very The Hills Have Eyes, where, although at least in The Hills Have Eyes, those creatures, and I do refer to them as creatures, are still genetically human, but they're just, they're a bit far gone. But in this case, because of the extra chemicals and everything, who knows what has happened to their DNA over time. And that I think you're right. That is several more steps from being human, being feral, out in the wilderness, inbreeding. They're probably. I think I would classify
How
it as
come nobody can
cryptid
find these guys?
because you don't want to.
See,
Well,
the
it
guys
shouldn't
out
be
here are
hard.
different. The humanoids here are a little different than this. I think so.
Oh God,
don't listen to that.
bitch.
Don't listen to that.
I'm not going to pay that any attention.
Jack, you cannot taser
Yeah,
the
you
baby.
can't tase babies.
Don't even pay attention to
Sorry.
it. But the other thing about this Dr. Crow guy, they don't know if he was killed or if he possibly survived at all. I've seen a depiction of this where it ended. It almost looked like the end of Halloween, where Michael Myers, you think he's dead, and they're like, we don't know. He might have got away. He might not have. It is thought that he might have moved on from this, and that he might have moved away and created more chemical head babies. Jack, that's frightening.
It is frightening because why would he continue to do it? They tried to kill him. I mean, so he's just going to.
He's clearly not sane. This
I guess
doctor
so.
probably had some work done on his head when he was a kid. And it's just
maybe.
like it's set in his ways
He's
now.
transferring it on.
He's
Yeah.
not
Those
Dr. Big Brain,
transgressions.
though. I think he's just a normal guy. He's Dr. Crow. It would be weird.
You call him normal? I
Yeah, I
don't call
wouldn't
this
call
guy
him
normal.
No, I guess not.
But I see what you mean, though, where like he doesn't really have an excuse. He wasn't like he's
He
not.
should
a
have learned
GMO.
his lesson the first time. No,
There's something wrong with him that he is so fixated on this.
it's hubris.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Pure.
That's a good way to put it.
Impure? Pure?
Pure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You just got to hope that the Melon
Impure
Heads
hubris.
were able to exact their revenge on him. And this is the great Ohio story that we have here. What do you think of it?
I hate it. This is awful. This is probably the worst type of research that we've had to do so far.
It's true. I have enough of like gross looking people out here already that we see. I think maybe they're getting it out of our system, talking about actual ones. And the Melon Heads are, I don't know. I'm still not sure after, but between the hydrocephalus and just being chemically made humans and altered, these things are terrible. I'm kind of glad this wasn't my local legend. Because I had a werewolf or something.
Yeah. You had a Rougarou around.
It's more of a
your
Frankenstein.
area.
I would rather have the Ohio legend, I believe, because it is a whole lot creepier than the one that we have up in Michigan. Like,
Oh, you want it creepier?
yeah, it makes ours look lame.
They're so similar. Where at least for me, I'm just happy with the idea that these poor children that have been subjected to all of this experimentation and everything would be able to exact their revenge.
They both deserve a lot of sympathy, I think,
Yes.
is how I feel. But
Absolutely.
I don't know, because when you become a cannibalistic, inbred, murdering society, it's hard to, where does the sympathy go after that? I mean, I think this problem does need to be dealt with at some point.
Well, sure. There's duality to a lot of things. I think it's possible to feel more than one emotion towards a situation like that. Yeah, it should be dealt with, but with compassion, if that makes sense. Because it's not their fault. They don't know what they're doing, and if they have become this way, it's not their fault. They're not evil. I feel that much.
It'd be like a person getting mauled by a wild animal now. It's not really the animal's fault.
Right. And I mean, and then, though that does compare them to animals, it's like with most people, you can see if there's no reason for them to have acted out in a way that they have, like, any common criminal, if they were raised normally in society and just happen to be an asshole, all right, less sympathy. But if you see that someone is acting they're reacting to their environment and to their conditions, you have more sympathy towards that, and you try to understand them, and you try to reach some kind of balance, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a bleeding heart, but I mean, as terrifying as this all sounds, and I wouldn't want to encounter them, I don't think that we should just go in there, guns a-blazing or anything to deal with this.
I agree. We should not go in guns a-blazing. But I mean, Jack, is Michigan that remote that you think a society of melon heads could exist in West Michigan, like some weird, deformed, like you said, hills have eyes kind of community?
I mean, it used to be up until maybe about 20 years ago or so, but it's gotten really populated now, and there's a lot of areas where you can still get a good amount of acreage of woods, a few good square miles of forest, but people are in and out of there all the time. So
So their territory might be shrinking, huh?
Yeah, they got to be like John Cena Melon Heads now.
Save the cannibalistic melon heads, please.
Or at least
But to discover them, yes, to make them an
Tranquilize
endangered
them.
weird species or something. At least let us know. We have to get to the bottom of
capture,
this.
not kill. Do
Some
what you
kind of
can.
way to get them out there. We got one more hotspot. We've done Michigan and Ohio. The third melonhead hotspot is Trumbull County, Connecticut, where they have not just one, but two different legendary great origins of the melonheads. And one version claims that in the 1960s, the modern legend, this is from the 60s, these melonheads, these are hippie melonheads. It does sound like a group that would follow some kind of band like that. Like, we're the Melonheads, man.
Following the melons, the blind melons.
Okay, yes, the Melonhead groupies, which I guess don't exist anymore because that guy's dead.
Died
Died in New Orleans.
Could still be fans. All right, yeah. This is so much bad news and bad energy in this episode, in this case.
Yeah, Melonheads are nothing but trouble. But we're back to Connecticut. So we're in the 1960s. There was an asylum for the criminally insane, and it was burned to the ground. It killed all of the staff, this fire, with the exception of about 10 to 20 inmates who were never found or accounted for. And it is believed that these inmates survived and became yet another Melonhead gang in Connecticut, surviving off of cannibalism and inbreeding, resulting in deformation and, further insanity. It's a very familiar story at this point. This is another, a lot like Lechuza, another very similar, but this happened in the 60s.
Yeah, well, when did the other ones happen?
In the 30s, or most of the early legends, like Michigan and stuff, when things were actually still called asylums. Like, the only asylum that exists now is Arkham Asylum, and that's not real.
And it doesn't exist, yeah.
I mean, as genetics work, I don't think that's enough time.
Yeah, exactly. It's not enough time for enough generations to form and maintain.
Exactly. If you're a 20-year-old Melonhead in the 60s, I don't know, you would maybe have one, like, you might have grandkids.
Yeah.
Like, that would be as far as it goes, but they would be kind of younger now. I don't know.
I'm also curious about the whole inbreeding thing. So these were prisoners.
Well,
like
do you want to explain how that works?
Well, no, I know how it works.
Your sister gets stuck in an oven and...
I'm assuming it was a men's prison because at this time it wouldn't have been a co-ed prison. So if they
That's
escaped,
true.
How is that
and there were
working
20
out?
of them that escaped, I mean, are they making
One of them would just
butt babies?
biologically turn
they
into,
doing?
like, it would develop a womb, much like certain
Nature
species do
finds a way,
like
Jack.
seahorses.
So they were
get to-
like injecting them with what, like fluke worm DNA or something to make them just...
Yeah, this place was run by John Grisham's dad, who got inspired by this.
To me, it feels like this is a copycat legend where they had something that they could relate to, like, okay, we have this prison. How can we make this an offshoot of that? How can we make that story this?
But are Melonheads big enough that people are trying to ride their coattails? No one knows what the hell Melonheads are.
Somebody did.
Why are they popping up in so many groups?
I mean, Jack knew about them.
Well, I grew up by them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, word of mouth gets around.
Yeah, I guess.
Some people do find
and
out.
Here I am in a new area.
I give Michigan OG status on Melonheads for sure. I'm just wondering how in the 1960s another Melonhead gangs can just prop up. If the right circumstances happen, you can have somehow a gang of either inmates or abducted children with a bunch of chemicals in their heads or anything. They can inbreed enough. They can inbreed enough to become a cryptid.
How does the melon head factor into this one also? That's another thing I'm kind of concerned about. Like, where does that show up? Do their heads just grow from being in the woods?
I think it's the inbreeding, but like I said, this is from the 60s. I don't know how they could inbreed that far. That would take a while.
Yeah,
it's only been 50 years.
This one does not hold as much. Oh God!
Well, remember, there's two versions of Connecticut story. If you think that one's dumb,
Oh boy.
there is an alternate version of the Connecticut melon legend that states that the Melonheads we know today, this is probably my favorite backstory. The Melonheads of Connecticut are descendants of a colonial era family from Trumbull who were banished for practicing witchcraft. And you guessed it, this witch family, they turned to, what do you think, Mora? What do you think they had to do?
Well, I don't know. You said I guess.
What do Melonheads usually do?
Cannibalism. Okay.
And
Inbreeding.
There you go. Bingo. You hit the daily double with that one.
I thought it had something to do with witchcraft, so I was very confused.
Nope, they are just witches, but they just happened to start inbreeding because they were banished from their town. They got caught.
So they inbreed and then eat their offspring? And how does that work out for them? Cannibalism and inbreeding? That they must be pumping out a lot of babies.
You can just make a deal with the devil and get it over with real quick. You're already witches. You don't have to be. I don't understand this one.
That's what makes
They're
more
just not
sense
bright
than
witches.
the other one, though.
They just, maybe sometimes there's evil people who want to be cannibals, and they just, that's what led them on the path to.
They got magic powers
Dark
now too.
witchcraft?
This is a darker one because they would have some power. They probably still remain. There's a little bit of that witch legacy still in them, even if they inbreed for generations. They're still mutant witches who with big heads who are very scary.
Yeah, not all witches are going to be evil and making deals with the devil.
Hold on, these witches got banned for a reason. I don't think the devil was off the table.
No, I think a lot of people are just afraid, and that's what leads to all these stigmas.
It's the inbreeding.
Yeah, honestly,
They frowned upon that back then.
If witchcraft was always tied to inbreeding, yeah, I would be able to understand the stigma.
Well, it was
attached
just
to
these
it.
certain witches that were.
Yeah, right. So I don't know about them making any deals with the devil, but these seem really evil. These people in particular.
Yeah, I mean, this one actually would line up and make sense because it says that this is a colonial era. So like hundreds of years have gone by. This is a long inbred witch family, keeping it together, getting big heads, sharp teeth. Makes sense. Sometimes witches have sharp teeth. They're scary.
Yeah, there's like hags out in the woods, which is like a little bit different. You have those stories about Baba Yaga where they kind of are monstrous, these witches. So to me, that's a whole different ilk.
I guess Lechuza would have a beak. I take that back.
Yes, and talons.
Connecticut's really interesting with this, though, especially with the witch angle, because there are a lot of modern sightings of melon heads in Connecticut. And most are from an area known as Dracula Drive. That is the melon head's favorite spot, Dracula Drive.
I can't believe that's real.
See, in Michigan, we just have the Melon Head Road.
It's literally called Melon Head Road.
It's not called that. I mean, that's the local name for it, but...
I hope that's the same with Dracula Drive.
It is. There is no actual Dracula Drive, at least not in Connecticut here. That is just an affectionate name that was given by the locals. The road is actually named Velvet Street, and that is not as intimidating as Dracula Drive.
But it sounds kind of cool. It sounds like where Draculas would hang out.
Or were you drag race or something? Like cool stuff would happen on Dracula Drive.
Velvet, did you say road?
It's called Velvet Street. It's not
Velvet
even
Street. But imagine, if you imagine a velvet street and you think of things like Velvet Underground,
Dracula's coffin.
Darkness. Yeah, exactly. That's the lining in Dracula's coffin.
Yep.
Yeah, he wears all velour too.
And his cape, of course.
Yeah. Velvet cape, definitely.
Well, on the inside, from what I've seen.
Sequins on the outside.
But I've seen some very compelling eyewitnesses from Dracula Drive. We got shown some footage back at headquarters from a man named Chris Barrico who came across a dead deer in the road while he was driving with his friends. And then something strange running from the body as they approached. And Chris thought this was just a squirrel or a dog, possibly. He needed to know for sure, though. So later, Chris asked his friends if he would return with him to Dracula Drive to see exactly what was picking at that roadkill they saw. And unsurprisingly, his friends did not want to come along. I can't imagine why. So Chris has to return alone at night to Dracula Drive.
Genius.
Was it a squirrel at this body? Was it a dog? He has to know.
How can those two be conflated?
Look, it's somehow this is what's bringing. He does not mention melon heads at all in the beginning because when he gets there to find out what's picking at this roadkill that he saw, he is approached by a deformed humanoid looking very much like a melon head. And him and a lot of other people I've seen, there are people out there that really believe that they've seen these melon heads.
I think it's totally possible that somebody out there could see something, like some kind of creature, and not know what it is. Like, I know I've seen things that I can't really explain, and then you see them for such a small fraction of a second, or maybe like a couple seconds at most, and it's not enough for your brain to even compile, but it wasn't natural. Something was off. So that's as much as I can say about that.
I think that's what he was going through here. I don't know why he was so compelled to go back and check if he didn't think it was something spectacular, like a melon head.
Yeah, it would help if we knew this guy personally, but yeah, there was some compulsion.
I wish I knew every leading melon head eyewitness personally. I will get there, hopefully. Maybe we can get one of these guys in here, really shake him down. But I gotta say, the obvious connection or possible explanation for me about these melon heads is gray aliens. I always think when you see this description, and we've already recently talked about Skinny Bob and the proportions and everything else, maybe I don't know why hydrocephalus people, maybe people are having actual alien sightings, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe people are having melon head sightings and they think they're seeing aliens. I think there is a big connection there.
I never really thought about that, but that is definitely valid. When we look at, our typical gray aliens, they have been described that way for a reason, that they just have these abnormally large heads for the size of their bodies as well, which doesn't make sense much with the physics and gravity here on Earth. So how it was picking at roadkill and then ran away, I'm not sure about that as alien activity.
You know what this story made me think a lot about? Remember?
E.T.?
Think back, Mora. The infamous 1977 Dover Demon case from Massachusetts.
Oh, yes.
Remember these guys? You got teenagers, Bill Bartlett, John Baxter, and a girl, Abby Brabham.
Great memory. I would not recall their names.
They cited a large-headed creature, which a lot of people presumed the Dover Demon was an alien. And this was the 70s. This is a possible melon head. This is still in the timeline where, if you think of the 30 story, even though this is Massachusetts, still up in the north, if these melon heads are somehow getting around to Connecticut and Ohio, and of course up in Michigan, why not? And
why not?
Everyone thought that was an alien. That could have been a melon head or vice versa. I don't know.
Except we have that one detail about the sharp teeth. The cannibalism is kind of a big difference too.
And
we have the road, because Dover Demon was seen on a road and running along a fence. And you're right. Maybe we already got to get into something here. We're talking about the gravity and the posture and stuff. The Dover Demon was like running around on fours. Maybe this is something that's been here a little while and the gravity is affecting it. If we're talking about alien world.
You would think if the gravity was affecting him that much and he's running on all fours, like his head just like falling over, like in front of him, he's tripping, digging his head in
I don't
the
want to
dirt
have Skinny Bob having to go through that when he escaped whoever
No, he's
was
got too
filming
much
him.
dignity. Yeah, it's different. There's a different energy about these stories.
Yeah, and if the melon heads, well, there's no reports of them, crawling on all fours or anything. They're just eating roadkill, like a lot of people that call George and Ori like to do. But melon head sightings, they are mostly reported in the northwest of the United States, except for some reason, Florida. Florida also has flaps of melon head sightings, and the belief is that melon heads may have at some point been part of a circus freak show, and a lot of circuses go to Florida. That is their home in the winter months. So there's a lot of circus-related activity in Carneyland in Florida. You think Florida man-ish, I know people, that's like a cliche, but you know what I mean. There are a lot of carny folk in Florida.
Yeah, a lot of circus activity. And that actually, to me, is the most realistic theory. That makes the most sense. Somebody, sadly,
But that would mean that an actual melon head, say from up north, somehow stumbles upon a circus, and an actual melon head, like one of Jack's Michigan melon heads, is now part of a circus in a freak show, and then he's vacationing in Florida or lives in Florida in the winter, and people are just seeing him walk around, and they're like, oh God, the melon heads.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, P.T. Barnum and his train of circus tomfoolery was going through Michigan, and they just
the most inbred, biggest headed man you could find.
And they were going down the tracks there, and there was one on the train track eating a deer, and they just pick it up as they're going by. I could see that.
It does make sense to me.
Yeah.
Now then, I would just have to say that then.
How many do you think some of these older circuses might have ever, and I guess you are saying that they could have actually, somehow employed something we would now consider a cryptid or even an alien. And maybe back then you could just get away with it. Like an alien could kind of be part of our world if we believe a lot of stuff we believe about aliens, about time travel and all, traveling across dimensions and coming through portals and shit. If they want to come to this world and be a part of it, that's a great time to do it, where you could just go be in a circus for a little bit and you could actually blend in here and be among humans.
Yeah.
I guess so.
And then 100 years later, everybody now is just like, it was just faked.
That's what it ends up being, is that whether or not it was an actual, human with like a deformation. So you have like the bearded lady. That's not an alien. That's literally a woman that was able to grow a beard. And because
on
that
what
kind of thing
planet
can
are women
happen.
growing beards? Hold on. Now, I'm starting to, okay.
You've never seen that before. Okay. No, it does happen. That humans are able to grow hair, and, it's not typical, but then you have people like, say, with like albinism, and then those people got lumped into a freak show as well. So people who were very human, I'm pretty sure if there was an alien, they would stand out a whole lot more, or would have been proven as a hoax. And that's not cool. That's not.
Well, aliens aren't cool. We know that. Some aliens are cool, but a lot of aliens do some pretty messed up stuff.
Right. Wait. So you're saying that they are aliens? I'm confused. What your take here is, Agent Ryan? They're
confusing me too. I think that. But what isn't confusing me is the fact that these melon heads are very scary, especially when they're in Florida. There was a great report from Florida from a man named Steve Pate, not Pate, spelled the same way. Steve Pate had a rather harrowing experience with a melon head. Isn't that right, Mora? I would like you to recant this story for me. Do you remember this? So we got to watch a film, and there was a man, he was playing war with his friends. He called it war. Basically, Jack, do you remember when your friends would just play plastic guns out in the woods and just shoot each other?
Yeah, I remember that. I also remember it as a card game.
Oh, yes. Playing war.
This was not that kind of card game. They were outside with plastic guns. They were playing war games out there. And they said that they were playing it like tag, which it doesn't seem like shooting where you just go tag your friend.
I can imagine capture the flag maybe, but yeah, tag is like, tag, now you have the gun? Like, wait, what? This is a bad war game.
You're dead.
Yeah, tag, you're dead.
Well, unfortunately, Steve Pate, he got dead in the game, and the other kids tie him and his partner to a tree in the middle of the woods, and then what? They just leave him there.
Yeah, wasn't it duct tape or something? Which is even worse.
You got two kids duct taped to a tree in Florida in the middle of the woods because they lost their war game, and wouldn't you know, they are attacked by a melon head. They saw a melon head. They described it exactly like the folklore and all of the pictures they have seen later, I'm assuming. And they got away, which a lot of people, not a lot of people live to tell the tale of the melon heads, but this kid did.
That's interesting, though, too, the idea that not a lot of people live to tell the tale. Like, how do we know that they encountered a melon head then? But these kids did see something. It was approaching. They could hear it approaching. And I recall, as he was telling the story, this one detail saying that it seemed to be excited by the fact that it was scaring him. And so that was a little bit different than these other encounters that we heard about where, before I was mentioning showing compassion and everything because they're not evil. But when something delights in the terror of another creature that it's causing, that does lean a little bit more towards evil.
A little bit evil. Maybe some of the witch lore is true. Maybe all the melon heads come from that one witch family. And I don't know, Jack, I could ask you, what do you think about my angle that maybe this is some kind of alien thing?
Yeah, I've actually kind of thought about that before in the past too, because they do look very similar in appearance, quite different in the activities they partake in. But I could see it. I can really see it.
The weird part being if they were to be aliens that look so much like humans that they would blend into a circus sideshow and then be content to be in the circus sideshow and then that's it, is a little bit far-fetched to me, that theory. But yeah, like it's possible.
Well, if they're going on vacation to have meetings, this would probably be the most fun thing in the world, being part of a circus, get to smell the popcorn, have animals around. It's better than the family vacation Skinny Bob's family was going on.
Oh, yeah, that was much, much worse because I don't think they lived through it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Wait, hold on. I'm hearing something again. I don't know if you've heard.
Oh, no.
I was hearing a little strange thing, but look, Jack, I might be about to do something stupid, so please come with me because I'm pretty sure I can get away with it. Yep.
Look, I will let you guys go and do that.
I will do my best to keep him down.
Wait, I see a few whom. What the hell is that?
Get in trouble.
The fuck?
It's humanoids again. Shh, watch out.
Guys, don't get too close.
What is that? Lechuza?
Oh God, yeah.
God, she got one of the humanoids. Wait, do not fire. Do not fire or curse. Crap, she's gone.
Just hide.
Jack, taser's not good.
I
Goddamn.
gotta try.
Chinka Punter. I want that Lechuza. Did you see that? Lechuza is actually here.
Wow.
Does this happen a lot here?
No, it does not. I mean, things like this have been happening, yeah, but not that. We haven't seen that, and thank God she got what she wanted, because I'm glad she didn't see you guys. I was hiding this whole time. Fuck
You guys
that.
have a weird job.
This,
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
look, at least
it's
those humanoids are
fun
going to
at
be in
times.
check. Did you see that? The way it snatched that thing up? Oh, my God. All right. We should
Effortless.
head back. Before we go, I'm going to ask you first, Agent Mora, what is your assessment of these melon heads? Is this cryptid? Is it sick people? Is it aliens? Or what?
I think it borders a little bit more on cryptids, but I think that they are at least partially human. I think it's definitely something that should be approached with caution and, like I said, some empathy, maybe.
Understood. How about you, Sass? What's the verdict?
I'm going to go with the whole alien angle because the other ones just don't really make any sense. And to me, it's much more possible for them to be coming down on their little spaceships out in the woods and then just traipsing around for a little bit. And people don't know what they're seeing, so they're making up stories about it.
Should we treat them with empathy? In your angle?
In my angle, I mean, if they're not hurting anybody, then yeah. But if they are, no, empathy.
I mean, yeah, they're cannibals. They've been surviving off dead people.
Yeah,
ever since.
they're eating their own in that case. So
Yeah, so they're not hurting anybody.
except
All right, great.
except their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
They just come down
That's
here to
fine.
snack on each other. And then
Weird.
No, that's not good. And I'll say this. I do believe that there are isolated incidents of individuals with hydrocephalus being misunderstood and very frightening to people. I don't think that they are responsible for the majority of these sightings. I tend to think the melon heads, they're either the result of dangerous experimentation and inbreeding or misidentified extraterrestrials, which is also how I feel about the humanoids we deal with here in the Zona. And
That's a good
I
point,
don't
too.
like them. I don't have sympathy for them, but I do have some sympathy for the melon heads. And look, if I'm successful with creating my own Lechuza, I'm going to look into deploying her into those melon head hotspots back in the States. Because look, we just we learned she does have an appetite for melon heads, at least the humanoids
At least
here.
these humanoids. Yeah.
Well, we got to get out of here. We are almost out.
Please.
I am sorry about your balloon crashed, Jack.
that's
We'll figure
okay.
out a way to get you out of here.
I had to
guess.
ride with one of you guys.
Agent Moro, would you mind escorting Mr. Sass back to HQ? We can go grab him a churro. I'm going to catch up with you later. I've got something here I want to check out real quick. I talked to Issa
You got
about
it.
it. It's going to be fine. So
Alrighty.
I'll say this to you guys. Adios. Until next time.
Hasta luego.
Zona del Silencio is underwritten by ZDS Inc., ZDS R&D, and the Zona del Silencio Media Outreach Department. If you have a case that requires research, we can be contacted through Zona del Silencio Podcast at gmail.com, at Zona del Podcast on Twitter, and Zona del Silencio on Instagram. ZDS. Research, observe, disseminate.